All right, have and have not fans, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out on any new content on the channel, as well checking out the links in the description below to my various social media from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page and group, and my eBay where I'm selling lots of different things. If you're a nerd, it is paradise. Pokemon cards, movies, video games, action figures, either in near or mint condition. 99% of that stuff is still in the box I purchased it in. So go check it out. Free shipping on everything. Now, this is an interesting video in regards to Oscar himself. I might do a part 2 to this after the next episode, till death do us part, but I just wanted to kind of go through some, I guess you could say like almost like a rough draft of sorts. I don't know if I'm going to go into full detail, but I just want to talk about how the story will move forward without Oscar. Now, to be honest, I think I did a video around the time that he overdosed on whatever Candace put in his drink that Rocky gave to her to give to him. I mentioned that, has Oscar's time on the show been done? Is his death really a bad thing? Like, it would be pretty awesome if his death got covered up. Then the money is never recovered. But then Jim would just assume that Oscar took the money and ran with it. That would have been an interesting way of throwing off Candace and her deception. That would have been great. But to be honest, Oscar really hasn't done much for the show in quite some time. I mean, after recovering the inheritance, but then being tricked by Candace, that was a major turnoff for a lot of fans. Ever since he went up to that room and, well, even before that, opening his computer with sensitive information in a dining area with a lot of people, Rocky got the photos. A lot of people said that was pretty dumb, and it was, because that's so unlike his character. Even going back as far as season 3, where he decided to get off a plane to go back to Atlanta, back to Savannah to talk with Candace after his job was done. I, for the life of me, will still never understand that. But I think that with the inheritance thing, we knew that, Jim was going to be on Oscar's ass about it. And we knew he was going to be going after Candace as revenge. And that led to the events of him falling through the window, or being pushed through the window to his death. But aside from that, there were only 2 other things that I felt his character actually brought to the story. Number one, if David allowed him to do information search on Erica, that would have been good for David, because Oscar would have found out who she really was, what she was all about. Because if you remember a couple seasons ago, when Candace was pretty much looking for Oscar for revenge for taking the $7.4 million from her, or what was left of it, she was out on the hunt for Oscar. Where was he? I want to get my money back, when it really wasn't hers. That was one of the most annoying traits of her character for the past few seasons. I want my money. It wasn't yours to begin with. Shut the hell up. Now, we know that Erica was on a date with another mark of hers, but then Candace tried to get, what was it? Erica took a photo on her phone, sent it to Candace, and that was the guy. And she tried to flirt with him a lot, and that was pretty much just to distract him. Then had the bellman put like her phone in his car to track him. And then that led to one of my favorite Oscar moments. We later found out that the house that he parked at, the family that he was with, because he knew he was being tailed, and Candace pulled up and found where he lived at, he then revealed to David that was a false family when he was in that town, which I thought was amazing. But then from there, it's kind of like, yeah, if Oscar would have been allowed to look into Erica, he would have been able to find out the truth. But David wouldn't allow. It's like, no, I have a gut feeling about it. And Oscar was like, well, usually when your gut's telling you something, you're right about it. So you should definitely look into it. No, I got this handled. Because he doesn't even know her last name. And I did love the David-Oscar dynamic. It was kind of like, 2 buddies or whatnot. The fact that David got him off on parole and whatnot, and Oscar was a vital asset to him. Kind of like the whole Veronica Derek situation, except that David and Oscar didn't have sex. It's kind of like, you know what? I helped this guy turn his life around, and now he's an asset to me whenever I need important information. And then Jim comes along to hire him to find Warlock before Mama Rose does, to get in her good graces. And I knew from the start, when Jim asked David if this guy's good at what he does, and do you have anything on him if he screws me over, I knew this wasn't going to end well for Oscar. Then we throw in the whole getting the inheritance thing back, and Oscar was able to prove Jim wrong by getting the money back. He gets intercepted by Candace, leading to the events that led to his death. So what really made me mad was when David told Jim that I had Oscar look into her when it involved Erica. He said it a couple episodes ago, and I'm like, no, you didn't, David. Oscar wanted to look into it, but you said you'll handle it. So there you go, giving Jim even more of a reason to doubt Oscar's skills if the truth ever came out about who Erica was and screwed him over. And Oscar, would have been in another situation where Jim would have doubted him, but we'll never know since he's dead now. So Oscar being killed off, one important plot point was he could have been one of the few people to reveal to David who Erica really was. Then we move on to the second and most important thing about Oscar, which I feel was rewritten in a way, was the fact that he was hired by a mysterious benefactor, a powerful force, whether it be one person or an organization, to make sure that Charles did not win the election. Which is why he wanted to hire Candace to work with him to get blackmail to have Charles lose so they both get a massive payday. But then several episodes later, it kind of flipped where it's like, look, work with him, be his first lady. In the long haul, you'll be paid. Candace, you'll be paid. But she didn't want to be involved with that. So, which is interesting because even though Oscar said that Candace should be the first lady with Charles, we then flip it again where Candace tricked Oscar to go upstairs to her room because she agreed to help him sabotage Charles' chance of winning the White House. That led him being overdosed and whatnot. So basically, Oscar went from being hired to make Charles lose, then getting Candace's help to make sure he lost by getting blackmail on him, but then wanting Candace to stay with Charles and eventually be first lady because it will be a great asset for the both of them, then agreeing to Candace's acceptance of his offer to bring Charles down. That really didn't make sense to me. So let's just scrap that and just talk about the idea of who is the faceless person that hired Oscar for this particular job. Possibly was the Malones. That's the most likely suspect of this operation because of the fact that we know Oscar is a asset recovery specialist, even though he used to be a con artist, but he uses his powers for good, so to speak, which is interesting because he was like a male version of Candace in a lot of ways, in the fact that he took his smarts and his evil conniving ways and flipped into the side of good. Not only is he making good money, but he has quite a good reputation, which Candace should use the same with her own skill set, not just going to law school, but also using her ability to read people and persuade, sarcasm and stuff like that. That could be a major payday, but she doesn't have the patience required for such a transformation. Now, if the Malones were indeed the benefactor, this could lead to another theory I made a couple weeks ago about Charles being assassinated if he wants to move there, but he's also going to be going there as another stop on his campaign trail because Candace mentioned a convention in town soon, not to mention Charles mentioned it several times to Landon. I feel like if our inside guy got killed, damn it, we're going to just have to kill this guy. Given the fact that if they find out about the whole Vinny being attacked in critical condition state, that might give the Malones even more reason to cause a massive bloodbath in Savannah, no matter who the casualty is. So Charles might end up dying as a result of Oscar dying as an extension of, the whole Wyatt and Vinny situation. Who knows how exactly the scenario is going to play out. But I do feel like Oscar himself, the two biggest traits of his character that will resonate within the story is the whole Erica ordeal, as well as the future of, Charles in regards to who was the person that hired Oscar. But also on top of that, Jim still needs to get his money back because Oscar's dead, which might lead to Jim going down to the jail to talk with Benny in the next episode about, you have something that belongs to me. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But with that being said, I feel like Oscar's presence will be missed on the show. I hate that he died the way he did. I'd much rather have him be written off like, well, I've done everything I had to do in this town, time to move on to another case out of town or something like that. But unfortunately, he's dead. So in the comment section below, let me know what your thoughts are in regards to what is the future of the haves and the have-nots without Oscar. I really feel the biggest things is the Erica plot. the whole Wyatt inheritance situation, and whether or not we'll finally know who was the person that hired him to sabotage Charles's chances of winning the White House. So subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you all later.